Cool. So sorry for the logistics snafu, but we'll quickly begin. Thanks for your response for call. And the agenda for today is that I'll just give you an overview of what analytics, sports analytics in general is, and then talk a bit about framing a problem statement. But we'll spend the maximum time on a hands-on mini case study, which is to find out the most prolific six hitter, right? So let us quickly begin, and we'll cover for lost time here. So what brings us here? We'll talk a bit about us, and we'll talk a bit about how this, in case, of course, you are interested in sports, particularly cricket. So how is this going to set you up for something, right? Very quickly, my background, I've been a sports entrepreneur and educator for the past 10 years. After graduating from IIT Bombay, I worked for a few years in EY, and then started up my sports venture, starting with SportsWave and then Go Sporto, and I played a part in helping 50,000 people play sports. Since then, I have been involved in teaching. I teach entrepreneurship at a few IIMs, and I teach sports management at IIM Rohtak in their sports management program. And I've also consulted with sports tech ventures in the past, and my current role is working on this product called Nurture Cricket, which is with Gary Kirsten, trying to come up with a online cricket, a version of online cricket coaching for the future, right? I am also involved in mentoring a few sports tech startups. So all my life, and this is just 10, 12 years of my life, but as far as I remember, I've been deeply passionate about sports. In fact, one of my earliest memory is waking up to see Alan Donald bowl to Sachin Tendulkar in that tour to South Africa, when South Africa were just out of apartheid, that 22-year ban. And since then, I have watched and followed everything under the sun, right? So why are we here? Why are we doing this now? In my 10, 12 years of doing this, trying to find out a foot in the sports industry, specifically the business of sports industry, I've realized that no one follows a set path. There is Brownian motion everywhere. So if you talk to someone who is involved in sports, works in the business of sports, there isn't a fixed path to get there, right? And in the past 2-3 years since I've been involved in teaching, I thought, why don't I team up with people who have been there, done that, people like Pranav, who is a senior editor at Analytics Vidya, and specifically teaches analytics, data science, and Tableau, and all the relevant tools. So why don't I team up with people who have been there, done that, and try and set up a sort of initiative to get more people a deeper understanding of what it is to find out your path in the business of sports, right? So that's a brief about me and the initiative. Now, in terms of how this webinar specifically and in general, the initiative that we are working towards is going to help you. One, if you're a sports fan, of course, there is nothing like that. You will understand and appreciate the game much better. I'm sure a lot of you would be following IPL commentary in the dugout mode. So the kind of insights that they share is quite unique, and it really builds your perspective as a cricket fan. So taking a step in this direction is, of course, going to help you. And then in general, you have heard about the creator economy. So everyone is trying to write blogs, share something on LinkedIn, share something on Facebook, try and come up with something that sets you apart, and of course also builds your portfolio. So in the future, near future or far future, if you want to do something in and around sports, what you have done, how you have channelized your passion is going to count. So this is going to give you a peek into in that direction. If you're already involved in data analytics, this and the workshops and courses that we have will give you a deeper perspective of the sports industry as such, and help you pick the right problems, go deeper, find better stories to tell. And for the small percentage of you who have been in sports, it will help you understand how analytics and technology can really help, right? So with that out of the way, let's just immediately go into the analytics overview, and I'll quickly breeze through this because I think we should spend more time on the case study. So I'll just quickly breeze through this and send you a link to read later on, right? So the way I have seen the sports industry sort of defined based on my experience of 10 years talking to people in this industry, there are four main pillars. There are four major stakeholders that are there in the business of sports, and in the future, if you have some role, or if you want to solve a problem, or if you want to do something in this, more or less on a very broad level, your solutions, your work will fall into one of these objectives, right? So there is a fan universe of fans like us who want better experience in terms of better stats, better articles, better content, better things to share on social media. So there is this entire fan engagement universe that exists, and whatever you do is going to make a fan happy, make him or her more engaged to whatever you are creating. Then there is the athlete universe, which is to make athletes better, which is all around training, right? So how do I become better? How do I win medals? How do I win championships? That entire athlete, coach, sports science, all of that ecosystem, that's there. Then there is sponsors. These are folks who bring in money in the ecosystem. So they want solutions through which they can get a visibility of their ROI, how effective, efficient, how targeted, segmented the audience is, how can they reach the right people at the right time at the lowest cost, all of that. So there is that universe, and a lot of data and analytics, of course, goes behind that. And then there is media. So media is the OTT platforms, the of course TV, broadcasting, even social media, which is a vehicle for the content, right? So for media also, their metrics are to be more effective, efficient, to have better engagement, right? And anything that you do in the business of sports is going to more or less enable one of these verticals, support one of these pillars, right? So right now I mentioned the technology stack, but it could be anything. It could be sports operations, it could be sports training, it could be sports science, coaching, anything, and event management. Anything that you do in sports will eventually sort of converge into one of these four buckets. Right now, we are talking about technology, and specifically data and related. So we'll talk a bit about analytics here, right? So what is sports analytics? What are the kinds of data that are there, and how are they used? Again, very broadly, there are three sets. One is the basic data, the scorecard, and all of that you see. Then there is derived and deeper data. Based on the data that is captured, what are the other things that you can build on top of it? So for example, this is the visualization of the gold medal match in Andy Murray versus Roger Federer, which went on for like 7-8 hours. So this is a visualization of the shots that were hit and from where it was hit, right? So this is one of the examples of how captured data is something is built on top of it, and it becomes derived and deeper. And then finally, there is advanced and tracking data. So things like sensors, IoT, optical cameras, and those catapult vests that you see, all of that go into capturing data for that, right? Now, as a sports fan, as someone who is a sports fan and isn't really ingrained into the industry, the kind of data that will be available to you will mostly be this, right? It will be data that is open source. It is data like on Cricinfo or some GitHub repository or some Excel file somewhere which you can download and work on. These kinds of data are available only, these are like proprietary data, like Stats or our partners, industry partners, Sports Interactive have, where, they have capabilities to capture it themselves, and then they monetize it. Then they do something on top of it to either monetize it or to help one of the stakeholders in the industry. So we will focus our attention on this, because as sports fans, with open source access, this is what we have access to, and which in turn means that right now the majority of the purpose that we will solve is building things around fan engagement. So coming up with insights that will tell better stories, that will engage fans, and to some extent, if you can go deeper and create something that will help, let's say, an athlete play better, like a tactical information or some strategic information, like you are playing your shots here, you should play it there, something like that. So in very minute cases, in very small cases, it will help the second one, but majorly it will be around happier fans. And if you want to come up with a blog, want to write an article, or in general want to understand the game better, this is the category that it will fall into. A few of you have attended Pranav's webinars on football analytics, and he runs a popular blog called worldfootballanalytics.com. So Pranav will share the link here in case there are some who are interested in football. But that is an example of how we can use this open source data and create a presence for ourselves. And in general, it is a way to channelize our passion for sports and do something around it. Right now. How do we capture the data? The simple thing, one of the simplest thing is just sit there and just capture the data. So for example, someone sitting in a cricket match with a laptop and tagging what happens on each ball. There are like 35, 50 data points that can be captured. Who was bowling, where was he or she bowling from, where was the shot hit, who was the fielder. So there are so many things that can be tagged. A simple way to capture the data is sit there and do it, right? Then another way to capture data is through optical tracking, which is very advanced cameras. This is a company called Sports View, which originally was a missile based technology, and then it was used in sports. So the saying that they have war minus the shooting is very true here. That camera is used for tracking. A lot of it is used in basketball arenas. NBA uses a lot of this, but now it is becoming more and more prevalent as a technology becomes cheaper, and even our day-to-day devices have capabilities to capture better optical data. And then there is IoT and sensors, as I talked about that you must have heard about sensors in BAT. And then there's that startup that I mentioned about that I'm involved in. They have body suits by which your 3D body motion can be captured as you play, right? So those sort of things are also there, but again, as I said, that data is proprietary, and we have to work on the data that is publicly available. Then comes once you have captured data, what do you do about it? Raw data is useless, right? So how do you structure it? How do you what do you do on top of it so that it is useful? So that part is called the analysis part. So let's say if in Excel, since we're talking about Excel, if you put in some formulae, if you put in some pivot tables, some chart, some things that will make sense of that data, that is the second part of how you will actually analyze it. And then finally, the third part is presenting the data, which is since the stakeholders don't have a lot of attention. There was a study last year that said that the human brain now has a lesser attention span than goldfish. So we have an attention span of 7 seconds as compared to 9 seconds for goldfish, right? And athletes and coaches don't deal with all this mumbo jumbo, fancy data, all of that. They want the action, right? What do I do? What all that work that you have done, how is it useful for me, right? So this becomes extremely critical. No one is going to look into your detailed charts and R and Python and Excel macro, all that you have done. They will have 5 or 10 seconds to make a decision, and whatever you have built should capture their attention and be useful for them, right? So that part is the visualization part, the presenting the data part. And one of the ways to do it, of course, is video analytics. So the example that you're seeing right now in tennis, that superimposing someone's form and technique with a better player is one way to immediately take action on it, right? So just to summarize, 3 parts: capture data, analyze data, present data. This is the backbone of not just sports analytics, but any analytics lifestyle. It is as simple as that. Today, we will focus on the first 2 parts, the capture and analyze part, because we don't have a lot of time to actually go into the visualize part, and we will cover that ground in our workshops and courses going forward. Right? So I talked about the 3 steps: the capturing data, analyzing data, and presenting data. But there is a part that comes even before that. Why are you doing it? When you have chosen a problem, what is the objective? What is the objective behind which you have chosen? Why choose that problem? What is it going to do? Is it going to be another Me Too analysis, or is it actually going to be interesting and useful for someone, right? And invariably, one of the ways in which we have consistently seen good problem statements come from is if you cover, if you sort of take the abstract and intangible statements and convert it into objectivity, right? So, for example, I'll share a couple of examples here before we go into our full on into our case study. So, one of the ways in which you can choose the right problem statement is try and break down a cliche or a statement a commentator makes, or you read somewhere, or a friend comes to you, says, and hey, I'm not bowling fast. You are someone who have to break it down and try and come up with the data, with the experiment, with insight into how you can convert that statement into and objective truth, right? So, so here are 2 or 3 examples, and we'll have more examples towards the end. So, for example, this was the greatest chase we have ever seen, right? Can you identify the one on the left and the right? I'm sure since everyone here is a cricket fan, I'll get a flurry of responses, right? Awesome, awesome. So 434, 438 on the left, and the NatWest famous or infamous NatWest Trophy final in 2003 on the right. So how do you know? So commentators say this was the greatest chase ever. How do you know this was the greatest chase ever, right? What are the objective set of criteria that you can define? What is the how can you break down this problem statement into smaller steps and say that, okay, 434, 438 seems to be better, but based on certain analysis that we have done, this NatWest Trophy is something that supersedes that. So can you prove that, or it is just your opinion, right? So this is one example of how you can take an abstract intangible truth and try and be objective, try and create some metrics and figure out and argue your point, right? So this is one example. Another example is let's say something like this: best knock under pressure. Again, open to the public quickly. I'm sure you'll get all right in like 10 seconds. Which are these moments? 281. It's actually 2001 Calcutta, if I'm not wrong. 2000. Lara 153, good one, awesome. Oh, Bala is here, great. So no wonder. Joss Butler Ashes. Are you sure there is the name written at the back itself? Yes, awesome. Ben Stokes Ashes, and of course the Desert Storm. So again, probably 10-15 seconds for you folks to answer. How do you know which is the best knock under pressure, right? How do you define that? Of course, 3 of them are test matches. I'm slightly biased towards tests, but one is one day. How, if you had to rank, if you had to rate, if you had to figure out which was the best knock, how would you go about it? What is the data? What is the objectivity that you can bring in, right? So this is another example of abstract statement problem that you can pick up. Then there is another one, fiery spell, right? So again, these are generic photos. I won't ask you to guess, but this is one of the Ambrose spells, and this is Donald against Alan Donald, white lightning against England when he, I think this was Michael Thurton, who had an epic battle with him. And of course, Ambrose and Walsh in the late 80s and early 90s had a lot of fiery spells, right? So how do you define that? How do you go about breaking it down and trying to come up with a metric, and then sort of coming up with your framework and argument, right? And then finally, the one that we will discuss today, the most prolific six hitter. So before I delve into that mini case study, that case study that we will spend the rest half an hour on, what are your opinion? I want to hear what you think. Who do you think is the most prolific six hitter of all time? Okay. Mahi Bhai, good one. Universe Boss, MST. Okay. Rohit, Gale, MS. Awesome. Okay, thank you. So I think all no love for Sanat Jayasuriya. I think we'll see some data. No love for Shahid Afridi, of course. That is kind of par for the course. So anyway, now let us see how we can try and structure this problem statement and answer it through some data analytics, right? So the case study that we will discuss today is around the as Anakin Skywalker says, this is where the fun begins, right? So this is where we will try and break down the most prolific six hitter, and we will try and see there will be plot twists, 1-2 plot twists that you will see, and I would like you to collaboratively work out those plot twists and come up with a metric, come up with a framework to identify who the best six hitters are, right? So where do we start, right? So if you had to start with a hypothesis, where do you think would be, what is your starting point? What table or what data would you like to see, right? And here I will, sorry, spelling is too large. Where is ABD? Good stuff. I will just I'll just stop sharing my screen, because now I'll focus more of my time on the Excel that I have prepared. In case you have Excel and you want to walk along, you can do that. Otherwise, I'll share the this some part of it will be shared, so you can do it after this as well. So number of balls and number of sixes. Okay, great, awesome. So you already have a good sort of grip on how to approach this, but I'll start from the how beginners approach it and what are the mistakes that they make, and then how do you delve deeper, right? So if you look at the number of sixes, that is the obviously most popular, and that's the most obvious starting point, right? So I'll just for those of you who want to learn how to bring in data into Excel, very quickly I'll show you how that's done, right? So I'll just share my Excel, right? So one of the obviously one of the known and best ways to do that, and for beginners probably the best way to do that is through Cricinfo, right? So the Cricinfo Stats Guru is a great place to do this. And if you open this link, so if you open the most sixes link, you will see. I don't think my Chrome is visible. Yeah, so if you search on Stats Guru, and you should know how to effectively use Stats Guru, because a lot of answers can be found there, right? So if you go to stats, if you go to record, this is the most sixes table that you will get, right? And if you go towards the end, you will see that the last table has 60 sixes. So Kemp from South Africa, he is the last in this table, and this is the last entry that we have. We'll see if that is elaborate or not, but very quickly, if you want to port this table into Excel, right? So just take this URL. One way, of course, as a beginner is to just copy and paste this, right? But there is a better way which sort of prepares the table, a nice table for you, and that is if you just copy this link. I have done a Control C. I'll stop share. I'll go to Excel. Right now, if you just so I've opened a new sheet. Yaman, Pranav, is this visible? I hope the Excel sheet is visible.
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay, great. So one way, one very easy way, and as a beginner, one of the best ways to learn how to capture data and data scraping is just open Excel, go to data, right? Then choose from web. You can see this option here, from web, and then you just paste the URL here. What this does is that it fetches whatever table is there on that particular particular web page, and you will get a very beautiful ready-made table for your use, right? So I'll just do that for you. It says that it is establishing a connection to Cricinfo. Don't do too much of it, because then Cricinfo blocks your IP. So just do it with a bit of caution, right? And of course, there are other data sources. So as and when you graduate from Excel, you will learn how to use APIs, and you will probably write a scraper using macro or using Python, and then you'll be able to fetch data without this much manual stuff. So you can see that there are two things that have come here, and if you select on most sixes table, you'll see a preview that will come up, right? So let's just wait for the preview and make sure that so you can see that that table has been ported, and you can make sure that you load to this particular cell, because otherwise every time you port data, it will open a new tab, which becomes very cumbersome to manage, right? So if you port this, you'll see that there is a query that has run. I already have a lot of queries, so this sheet is going to be very heavy. So you'll see that very beautiful data table has come up, right? And this is all there is, right? So if you want to get data from any web page, especially Cricinfo, you can just go to that particular query. You can go to data. You can say from web, put in the URL, and then port the table that you want to put. Right now, let us see what the folks were talking about. So if we the mistakes that the beginner would make, and you of course, when someone is doing it for the first time, what they end up doing is Pranav, now my PPT is visible, I hope.
Yeah, it is, Nikhil.
Okay, thanks. So we saw how to go to statistical and capture data. Now the mistakes that beginners make is to just look at the probably absolute beginners make is to just look at the number of sixes that are there, right? So if Afridi has 351 sixes, Gail has 331 sixes, okay, great. So one way to define prolific is the most number of sixes. So let's go with that. So one definition of prolific is whoever has hit the most sixes should be defined as the most prolific six hitter. But as a lot of you have pointed out, there is something wrong in doing that, right? So can you just quickly share what do you think is wrong with choosing someone with the most number of sixes? Please share the link. Okay, I'll share the link. One second. Most sixes query. Yeah, so the link for that is here in case you want to put it in your Excel. Hitting sixes should be based on pressure situation, bowler face, pitch and match conditions. Okay. More deliveries compared to others. Good one. Consistency of hitting sixes matter. Bowler's face, number of matches or balls face is not the same. Okay. So excellent. You already have all the answers here. Of course, the problem in doing that is that you are you are just looking at the number of sixes. You are not really seeing that if somebody has played 500 matches, of course they will hit more sixes than the other person. Why do you say that that is prolific, right? So we shouldn't just pack up and say that okay, the webinar is done, let's go home, right? You already pointed out what's wrong with the data. The second thing that I wanted to point out was maybe there is a merit, as in the filter of 60, the threshold of 60 is arbitrary, right? So we should be more open. We should try and come up with data for, let's say, for me, I have decided I have set the threshold as 20. It can be 30, it can be 40, it can be anything, right? But just to see the trends of data, just to observe data and see what comes out of it. Initially try and be as broad as possible, because if you define the number of sixes to be 200, of course there are only a few people, and then you don't really have nuances that can come out of it, right? So the second thing that a good practice is there is to be more sort of liberal, to have a larger data set so that you can come up with trends and nuances which will help your argument, right? So that's there. Then, of course, the limitations that you folks have just pointed out, that the second thing that one should do is just look at other metrics, like trying to have parity with the number of balls one has faced, number of matches one has played. So we can define two other metrics that can help us do that, right? So, but before I show that, I will just show you, since that Excel is already, there are a lot of queries there. So I'll just show you about this part, about broadening the horizon, right? So I'll share the link, I'll share a link here, and that is the query on StatsGuru to get everyone in each year, starting from 1971, you can change the date in the query. Everyone who has hit 1/6 or more, right? So I'll just share my Excel now, and I'll share the link with you. Right. So in terms of broadening the horizon, what I wanted to do was come up with a year by year analysis of the number of sixes that were hit, right? So if you put this query in your Excel sheet, and if you look at it, you will see that you'll see two things here. There is a 31 December 2015 and there is 1 Jan 2015. So in the calendar year 2015, everyone who has hit more than 1/6, that table will come up. And if you change the year, so I did it year by year from 1971 till 2020, right? So one of the things that you should not be afraid of is to sort of scrape and collect a lot of data. Of course, if you know how to write macros, I intentionally did not do it for the exercise because I just wanted to show you that it's manually also possible, and it takes as much time as let's say watching the halftime of an IPL match, right? So I keep on saying in other sessions as well, it is almost therapeutic that you are devoting something time on something that you like. It is getting you focused, and it's like a trek that if you it is going to be difficult and it's going to take a lot of time, but the result and the view that you will get at the top will be amazing, right? So this is the year by year query that I have done. So you can see that in 1971 there was only one gentleman, Ian Chappell, and there was only 1/6 that was hit. And as you see progressively over the years, more and more people come in, more and more sixes are there. And I changed the date in each of the so on the right hand side in the Excel, you can see how many queries are there. There 55 queries. So this includes around 49 of them from this table and some other, but for each of them, I went through, I pasted, as in I pointed the data to be captured here. And then the table that I got was the year by years sixes that were hit, right? Apart from this, I also had a query in Stats Guru. So instead of just people with 60 or more sixes, I was able to write put in filters and write a query in Cricinfo Stats Guru that gives you everyone with more than 20 sixes. And I hope Gary does not see this table right now, because in terms of major batters, he is at the bottom of the table. And Indranagar ka Gunda is just somewhere slightly, he is on top, but you will see how his factors play in, right? So this is another query through which you can get more than 20 people who have hit more than 26s. Again, I'll share that link with you if you want to see this query and port it in your own Excel sheet. You can do that right away. So this is the query for sixes, more than 26s, right? So now there is some serious data that has come in. There are some insights that that can be drawn, and there is, rather than a very juvenile view, there is more sort of information at your hand, and you can dive a bit deeper and try and make sense of it, right? So so let me go back to the PPT, right? So now, in terms of the metrics, you guys, you folks already mentioned what metrics should be defined for parity. So there are two that we can look at, right? So there are two that we can look at. One is the sixes per innings. So let's say somebody who has played lesser innings, but if we say on an average, these many sixes are hit per innings, you can say that, okay, this is one way to give parity rather than look at volume, right? And then the other one is balls per six. This gives advantage to people who are coming down the order, that even if someone like Andre Russell or Kyron Pollard the other day, of course, if they are coming in late, they don't have the opportunity to face like 100, 150, 200 balls, but in whatever opportunity they have, they make the most out of it, right? So that is something that should be counted. So we can introduce two simple metrics, and this is where the from the basic we are going to the derived metrics. We have defined two metrics called six per innings and balls per six, and then we are going to see what happens if we include that, right? So again, I'll just go back. There is a lot of back and forth in this one because all the work has been done in the Excel sheet. So so if you look at this, and if you look at the level 1 analysis, you will see. So you will already see that I have sorted the table. I have taken this table. I have gone to data. I have gone to sort, and I have sorted by. Let's first sort by 6 PI, which is sixes per innings, right? And go to largest to smallest, right? So I had this table. I put in two different metrics, which was 6 per innings, which is basically a number of sixes divided by number of innings, and then balls per six, which is of course number of balls divided by number of sixes. And then I had a table ready, and now let's see what happens if we sort this table by both those metrics one by one. So if you sort this by 6 PI, sixes per innings, and go from largest to smallest, you'll see that something has changed, right? So you'll see that Asif Ali, and honestly, this was a surprise to me. I didn't even know how prolific he has been in the last 3 years. Then, of course, we have familiar faces, Rishabh Pant coming in, but the sixes are very less, right? So we might later on take a judgment that 26s is too less, but this is still good to see that the power hitters of this generation, Nicholas Puran at 3, remember the Simon Hetmeyer at 4, then Pandya, Corey Anderson, and Russell is there, Pollard is there, right? So now you'll see that suddenly the premise that we had around the most number of sixes, all of that has changed. And of course, we can filter this out. So let's say you say that, no, I don't want 20 sixes to be the filter. I want 50 sixes or 40 sixes to be the filter. So you can do that. If you go for 40 sixes, you'll have Hetmeyer, Pandya, Anderson. So the filters depend on you, but you need to make that argument for yourself, right? So if we did by 6 PI, a particular thing happened. Now let's look at the other metric, which is the balls per 6, right? So as we discussed, that 6 per innings is also favoring the batters, people who come in early and face more balls, right? Those who don't have a lot of balls to play, for them probably balls per 6 is a better metric to look at, right? So let's look at balls per 6 and let's do a reverse sort, because the lesser balls you need is better, right? So now again, another Pakistani player comes in, and again, I don't know how prolific he has been in the last 4 or 5 years, but there he is. So Hassan Ali is there. The number of sixes are very less, but still there is a change in order. Then Andre Russell, people who come in late have suddenly started sort of ruling the table, right? Then there is Yusuf Pathan. For quite some time, 5-6 years, he was the rock in the lower middle order. I'm sure a lot of you will remember that innings in South Africa where he single-handedly took India to victory. And then you will see a lot of other familiar faces. So Maxwell comes in. Somebody had asked about AB de Villiers. He's also in here somewhere, but not as high, because for him, hitting sixes is, he has a lot of other stuff that he can do. So probably hitting sixes is not his priority. But if we go to the bottom of the table, what do we have? We again have Gary Kirsten there. So I hope he does not see this. There is Michael Bevan. Michael Bevan has one of the best sort of strike rates. And if those of you who watched in the late 90s and early 2000s, he was the best finisher, period. He was the best finisher in the game. He used to pierce the field. He used to know how to pace his innings. But unfortunately, in terms of six hitting, he is not up there. And our favorite cricketer, Indranagar Ka Gunda, is also languishing towards the bottom. And an astronomical 364 balls per 6, right? So of course that was not his game, but it's a fun trivia. But I think I'll have to delete this line where it says Gary Kirsten is at the bottom, right? So this was the sort of second level when you introduced some metrics. This was the second level analysis that came up. Now, in terms of what else we can do, what else is this missing once? Pranav, is my presentation visible right now?
Yeah, Nikhil, we can see it.
Okay, great, thank you. So, in terms of what is missing, can you sort of brainstorm? Can you tell us 6 as a percentage of total runs? Good one. Okay, total sixes per year to accommodate. That's a great one, Divyansh. By selecting years, we can differentiate it. Yes, right. T20 cricket is how to calculate. So everyone is absolutely bang on. You preempted. We preempted the sort of biggest thing that we have been missing is that, of course, the number of sixes that have been hit across generations have changed. So how do we factor that in, right? So that is what we will do in the next section. But before we do that, as I was saying earlier, I have a quick sort of info on the upcoming workshop that we are running, and the webinars that we do invariably stretch beyond 1 hour. So in case you have time, don't worry. There is a lot of stuff that is coming in. Of course, there is the big reveal and plot twist. But very quickly, in the next 5 minutes, I'll just like to walk you through the workshop that we guys have planned a special offer for the webinar attendees as well. So I'll just stop sharing this screen. I'll share the other presentation. Pranav, just let me know once that's visible.
Not yet.
Yeah, so just give me 1 second. Yeah, meanwhile, you can think of the analysis and the metrics that we can do. I'll just share my screen and quickly talk to you about the workshop and the special offer that we have. Yeah, Pranav, I hope it's visible now.
It's still showing. Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, awesome. So very quickly, there's a workshop that we do, which is a much more detailed version of what you are seeing here right now. And the features of that is that it is spread across 2 Sundays. So this Sunday from 12 to 2, and then the next Sunday from 12 to 2. And again, invariably, it goes beyond that because we are all sports fans and we end up having conversations together. So it stretches way beyond those 2 hours. Then the great thing about this is that it is very hands-on. So just like we are there isn't much time, so we aren't able to do as hands-on as we would have liked. But we will give you a problem statement. We'll tell you how to find data, and then in the next session, we will have a sort of get together where you will present the solutions. We'll be there to shape it, guide it, and all the problems that are selected are very, very industry facing, as in those are problems that real sports analysts work on, right? So that is because, of course, of our own experiences, but because of our industry partner as well. So Sports Interactive is is the biggest sports data company in India, and possibly one of the biggest in the world. They are our partners in this workshop, and all our teaching, learning initiatives, our courses as well. And this is for beginners with no knowledge of tools like R, Python, Tableau, anything. So even if you are just willing to learn just using Excel, you can do that, because it will be more about frameworks and how to solve problems, how to approach problems. If you know coding, it will be even better, because then, as I said, you will be able to put in the sports context over this problem solving that you already have, and then maybe go even one step further, right? So as I said, it will be very hands-on and linked to what is happening in the industry. What are the things that you can expect there? One is, overall sports management industry. I touched upon that very briefly, but you'll see blow by blow account of that, many case studies for each of those. Different type of data. Again, we touched upon very, very briefly on that, but there you'll see much more detail and nuances of how that is done. Real life case studies, how to frame your problem. Most importantly, Pranav will be. Pranav is an expert in data visualization, so he will cover the visualization part. So right now we're talking about capturing data and analyzing data. He will tell you the next step. How do you choose the right presentation? Let's say if you have to present something in Tableau, how do you choose the right graph, and all of that will be hands-on, right? So you will get feedback on the assignments that you make, on the work that you do. Both of us will be there, and the peer group itself is so amazing that you get a lot of feedback from your own colleagues as well, right? Apart from that, you get a certificate of participation or completion, depending on whether you turn in the assignment or not. The top 2-3 participants get a free entry to the course. So that's a 8 session thing that we do. In fact, we are just about to end the first cohort of the course. I think the part that you will all like as sports fan is that it will be an ongoing community. So we will have chatter. We will have problem statements every 10-15 days. There'll be discussion sessions where you'll be part of it. You will present, you'll see others' presentations, you will learn from them and share your views. And going forward, we are also in talks with other stakeholders to take live projects from the industry. So based on my connects, based on the ecosystem that we have been in, we are talking to people and getting, let's say if a Hockey Federation wants to come up with something in hockey analytics, right? So if they want to define the problem statement, who will they go to? There isn't really like a defined industry. So enthusiasts like us can step in and do that. So that is also in the works. So you'll get access to those as and when they come. I have already talked a bit about me. Pranav, he is a data scientist at Analytics Vidya, which is the biggest analytics learning platform in India. He has written more than 200 articles there. But more importantly, he's an out-and-out sports fan, very passionate. He had a magazine of his own. He quit job to start a football magazine for 8-9 months, and he has written so many articles which have been published all over the world, from Manchester United blogs to goal.com to every good sports portal that you can think of. Pranav and I were also part of India's first sports analytics conference. We presented a paper together. If you join our workshop, we'll share what that paper was about. And then finally, the benefit that you can have as a webinar attendee, we have a special offer till tonight, as in midnight, in the next 3 hours. Should you decide to, if you are having fun here and if you decide to go ahead and join the workshop to have even more fun and learning, we have a flat 300 off. The way to avail it is to go to this link and put in the coupon, or there will be a direct link which my colleague Yaman will be pasting there. So for any logistical support, you can talk to Yaman on this, but we are really looking forward to having a few of you in the workshop and building on what we are learning here. Right. So Yaman, please do the honors. I'll switch back to the Excel sheet and complete the discussion that we were having, and try and build on the inputs that we have received from the participants. Right. We are already at 9, so apologies for that, but we have some interesting stuff coming up. So if you have time, please stay till the end, and you will see a lot of surprises coming up. Right. So as you folks were mentioning, we have to do something about the errors. Right. So all of this was good. The 6 per innings was great. The balls per 6 was also good. Trying to give some different view, a different perspective on the overall metrics that we saw, number of sixes, which is really boring. This was one level deeper that you saw, but as a lot of you were rightly pointing out, that we need to correlate, we need to figure out that what was how do we define, how do we go about standardizing it or adjusting it for different eras when the number of sixes were different. So just to give you a perspective on that, before we go here, there was another query that I had. Yeah, so there was another query in Cricinfo that I had made. I'll just share the link here in case you want to do that. So one way to view this is through so one way to view this is to see that how does the success per year change over time, right? So if we have to standardize it, of course we have to figure out that Vijay, please let me just complete this, and then I'll be around. So in case you have any queries, we can address that. So, or do you have something specific right now? You can just put it in the chat box. I'll read it and address that. Right. So one of the ways to do that is to use that query and then see the number of sixes that were hit each year, right? So as I pasted that query, if you go to Stats Guru and if you do some jugglery, you'll be able to get that. So what that query does is that for every year, you will have the number of matches, you'll have the number of runs, wickets, and balls, all of that, right? So here you don't have the number of sixes, but since we had done that entire work year by year of pasting some 50 queries, we can now just put in a formula. We can just put in a SUMIF formula where if you look at the year and then find the sum of all the sixes that have been hit in the year. So SUMIF formula is one of the, I would say, just above basic formula. So you can just search on Google in case you don't know it. But what SUMIF does is just checks for this year and looks in an array and then gives the number of sixes, whatever you are looking at, as an output. So now, apart from the number of matches per year, we also had the number of sixes per year. And because they had the number of balls, we have the number of balls, and we are also including the number of wickets that have fallen each year, because this is important, because this gives us the number of sixes that have been hit per person that was batting, right? So these are important sort of second level metrics to look at for our further analysis, right? And the way to do that, of course, is again a very, probably the Excel formula that we end up using the most, which is VLOOKUP. In case you are slightly advanced, you can do index match or whatever you like. But VLOOKUP is a simple, relatively simple formula which just says that, okay, if we have this year or this data, can you look up this data somewhere else and give me the output? So SUMIF, we look up, and we use a lot of pivot tables. So this is the toolkit. I shouldn't use that word, but this is the set of skills that beginner and beginner plus should have in Excel, and a lot of analysis can be done on top of it, right? So you have all of this now. For each year, you can calculate a balls per six. So for that era, if you have to define a particular era, you can look at okay, there were total 594 balls that were bowled. There were total 160 that were hit. Let's not look at the early 70s because the one-day cricket has just started. But let's say look at the year India won the World Cup. So there were 37,000 balls that were bowled. There were 66 wickets that fell. So there were 66 sixes. There were 92 sixes that were hit. So the balls per six is a simple division of those. And similarly, sixes per innings is the number of sixes that were hit and the number of matches that were there, right? So again, on a very aggregated level, this is the kind of simple second level metric that we can define. And just to show you how the trend has changed, you can see this here, right? So in the 1970s, in 82 matches, there were 174 sixes that were hit. And the balls taken to hit a six was 265, right? That dropped to 190, 160, 200. And finally, around this time, in the 2010s, because of T20 cricket, power hitting, better bats, smaller grounds, blah, 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 all that jazz, we have reached 68 68 balls to a six, and the sixes per innings have also almost become 3.5-4 times of what it was in the 70s, right? So this means that what we did, what the analysis that we did so far was fine, was okay, but now we have to factor in the era as well, because we might have missed some really good people who were ahead of their times and who were the pioneers, so to speak, in their eras, and they are missing out because everything is dominated by recent players, right? So this gives a good sort of idea into the trends across eras, across years. And now finally, let us see how we can incorporate that, right? So this is I can't really go into detail of sort of explaining each and every aspect of it, but very briefly, what I have attempted to do here is to, we had the year by year, and for every year the players, the innings, sixes, hit, runs, all of that we had there. So the thing that you see in yellow is the second level, the secondary analysis that we can add, right? So for each year, if we have to look at sixes per innings of that particular player, that's one thing that we can do. Then one of the other things that we can sort of compare that was, this guy hit, let's say, 1-6, or let's go a bit down, because that data is very skewed, right? So let's look at Sir Vivian Richards, right? So let us look at Kapil Dev. Let us look at Ian Botham, right? So he had played only 7 matches. Let us look at Javed Miandad. He had played 13 matches, 12 innings. He had scored 501 runs. He had scored he had hit 35 fours and 8 sixes, right? So this was his sixes per innings will be the number of sixes that he has hit, which is 8, divided by the number of innings, which is 12, right? So this is his sixes per innings. And what this metric is the average sixes that were hit in that particular year, right? So because we had it here, because so for Javed Miandad, we were for Javed Miandad, we are in which year? We are in 1982, right? So if we go to 1982, we can see that there were 92 sixes that were hit in these many balls, and n number of matches, 33 matches. So the sixes per innings was this much, and the sixes per wicket, as in for each batter, if we have to divide by the number of people who were batting in that year, then on an average, each batter, how many sixes did they hit per innings, right? So that number is let's say 0.21, and if you look at Miandad, he was obviously hitting like 3 times more the average of an innings, right? So what we have done next is that we have calculated the adjusted 6 per innings. So in that era, if in that particular year, if Miandad was hitting like in this particular at this level with this variance, what is the adjusted 6 per innings that we can do? So again, this is a very simple formula where we have just said that let us divide his sixes per innings of that year by the yearly average to get the adjusted 6 per innings of that player. And then finally, this is a slightly complex metric, because for each year this is going to be different, right? So if we just look at, let's say, let's look at a recent pair. Let's look at Morgan. Right, so Morgan played for 2 countries in our sort of analysis period. Now, if you look at Morgan, we can see that his sixes per innings obviously have changed over the years. The average sixes per innings was this much. So his adjusted sixes per innings was this much. Now we have introduced a new metric called weighted 6 per innings, which is basically if he had hit, let's say, if he had hit 1-6 in that particular year, what is the weighted average if we multiply his number, if we multiply his adjusted 6 per innings with the overall with the number of innings that he played this year divided by the overall innings that he has played. So for example, let's look at 2019. In 2019, he played 18 innings, right? But in his career, he has played 225 innings, right? So if we now multiply this by if we say if we go to 2019 and if we say that uh, uh, the adjusted 6 per innings was this much, but the weighted 6 per innings was this into 18 divided by 225. So basically, what this metric is doing is that it is it is averaging, it is based on his performance over the year. So if he has played 18 innings here, if he has played 22 innings there, if he has played 6 innings there, what did he do in that particular year? How was he placed in terms of average there, and then a weighted average based on his performance in the entire career, right? So I'll share the article on which this is based, on which data analysis based. You will, because we don't have a lot of time, I can't really go dive in deep into that. But basically what this is saying, that the number that we are getting now, if we make a sum total of this, and the number that we will get is the so the number that we have got is 1.8. What this number means is that for another batter, average batter in the same period, Owen Morgan is 1.8 times, he has hit 1.8 times more sixes, right? So this has averaged out his performance in the and compared it with other people in that particular era, in that particular period. And if we do this for every player across every eras, we will have a certain we will have certain metrics that we can look at. And if we do it just what we have done for ball 6 per innings, if we do it for balls per 6, we will get a similar metric, right? So again, because we don't have a lot of time to go into the detail of this, I'll share that link with you after this session. But what this means is that if we now look at the summary of everything that we have discussed, you will see a few surprises that that will crop up, right? So Pranav, is this visible? Is this slide visible?
Yeah, Nikhil.
Okay, great, thanks. So now we have leveled the playing field. We have adjusted for the shift of the generation. We have introduced weighted metrics which take average across years and then calculate based on your performance versus what was the average performance in that generation. Obviously, visualization is a part that that we can't cover here. We'll cover in detail in the workshop. Pranav is an expert in that. He'll take care of that. But what this does is that if you now look at these particular innings, all the analysis that we have done, you'll suddenly see a different picture, right? King Richards enters into the picture. Right now, King Richards was not there. And for those who have know about Vivian Richards, you would know that in cricket, folks associate him with swagger, right? The way he walked into bat, the confidence, the poise, played without a helmet all through his life, and he used to bully bowlers, right? So not having him in the list was slightly weird. But now, if you look at weighted 6 per innings, you will see Viv Richards there. But second is a player that probably only a few of us would know or remember, right? Which is Lance Keynes. Lance Keynes, probably better known to the younger generation as the father of Chris Keynes, the Kiwi all-rounder, the sort of now disgraced Kiwi all-rounder. But Lance Keynes entered the picture. And if you look at weighted balls per inning, so in this, King Richards is being favored because he used to come up the order. He used to face more balls, so he had more opportunities to hit 6. But if you look at the weighted balls per match, suddenly you'll see that Lance Keynes is miles ahead of anyone else, right? So he's 12 times more capable of in terms of the weighted balls per metric than any other player of his generation, right? So now we can sort of safely say that one of the ways to look at this data is that, and what it has thrown to us is that Lance Keynes seems to be ahead of its time, and surely he should be considered as one of the pioneers in 6 hitting. And to add to that, there are a couple of more facts that will make him probably your next favorite cricketer, right? So first bat, his bat looks something like this, right? And it was named Excalibur. So he had a bat named Excalibur, which looked like this. And secondly, he was someone who had been deaf since 17, and he has done a lot of work. He had a cochlear implant very later on in life, and he has done a lot of work around that, right? So someone who was ahead of its time, who played with a really cool bat with a cool name, and has done so much work. I'm sure now those of you who didn't know about Lance Keynes, now you will go to YouTube and watch his sixes. He hit, especially 1982-83 was the period in which he was, heads and shoulders away. People didn't even know what boundaries were, and he was hitting sixes at will. And that too with if he had the modern bat, just imagine what he could have done, right? So that sort of is the conclusion, is the reveal, is the plot twist that I wanted to bring in. And if you look at data, this is the kind of insights, the nuances that you can draw if you keep on asking questions. So quickly, the takeaways from this session, if you have to remember some stuff, if you have to work on some stuff. One, the problem framing that we talked about, that there are so many cliches that exist. Try and break down those cliches into objective truths and come up with your own arguments. Maybe what I just presented right now, you will have another point of view, you will come up with another metrics. And that's the way it is. We will iterate, we will discuss, we will argue, and we will come up with new interesting insights and try and convince each other. That is how it should work, right? Second is to go deeper. As we saw that if we just went with, let's say, the number of sixes, that's the most boring part. The more interesting was sixes per innings, balls per six, and then even more interesting was indexing it for generations. If we keep on asking questions, if we go deeper, we will get more insights. Collecting data, as you saw, it took me a lot of time to sort of collect all of that data, prepare it, and then analyze it, right? So, but don't skip that part. Nobody, unless and until you are like the head data scientist at Uber or something, you won't really get data on a platter. You will have to do it yourself. And since you are interested, you are passionate, it is one of the things that you should. It's a habit that you should cultivate. It gives perspective. It gives joy, and a lot. If you look at data, you will start seeing patterns that are interesting. Then the next step, of course, is to look for improvements. So the manual process that I showed you, if you can quickly Google how to write a macro, record a macro, and probably in one of the later sessions we'll cover that. But you can just record a macro, and you can automate some part of the process that I showed manually, the 55 queries that were done. In terms of basic Excel, you should, as I said, you should know formulae like VLOOKUP, SUMIF. You should know how pivot tables work. And since you're interested in sport, this is a great way to learn it, right? So if you are someone, as I saw, that more than 50% were beginners and were taking their first steps with Excel. If you're interested in sports and particularly cricket, then this is the way to learn it, right? This is the way how you will discover, how you will search, you will fix bugs, you will come up with interesting insights, and then go forward in the journey, right? So anyone present here who knows Excel hadn't really taken a course. It was either on the job or because of hobby and side projects, you were able to do that. So this is a great nudge for you to figure that out and do it yourself. And then there are some problem statements. In case you're interested, you can pick any one of them, more of them, and try and break down into objective truth, right? So one of the things that irks me is that when commentators say a wicket always falls after a break, is there a proof of that? Is there like a data analysis that is done that after a break, before a break, during long way away from the other wickets that are falling? Then there's a term called nervous 90s in cricket. Does it exist for certain cricketers or not? This is one of the questions that I asked in my exam. So my former students here will get some flashbacks of that. Then things like we are looking for impact players. What does impact player mean? How do you define it? How do you get data for it? How do you analyze it? How do you present it? Then great bowlers hunt in pairs. How do you define that? How do you see what is pairs? What is hunting? What is great bowlers? How do you come up with that? So there are tons and tons of, if you are more observant, and most of you would have watched IPL in dugout. If you have not, go to Hotstar and look at best of select dugout. You will see a lot of interesting analytics insights that come up. So that should also pique your interest. You should also be excited to learn and do something on top of it, present some insights, get some aha feeling, and in general build your profile, share it on social media, right? So with that, 23 minutes extended, but thank you for those who have chosen to stay till the end. This was a lot of fun putting it together, and there is a lot of others. Through our workshops and courses, we do a lot of deep dive into all of these topics. So if this interested you, if you like this, please consider joining us in the workshop as well. Now, there, I will stay around for 5 more minutes. There are some, if you have some questions, you can put it right there. Can you please share this Excel later? Sure, Divyansh, I will do that. We'll break it down, as in there are some parts that are there. We'll share the Excel and the queries as well. Then, do you have a course on which? Yes. So sports analytics with Tableau is something that is the forte of Pranav. So we will cover that briefly in the workshop. We will cover that in much more detail in our course. So Prateek, we will share those details with you, right? Role of data in fantasy cricket. So of course, if you are a fan, I don't know, Hitik, if you play FPL as well, the football version of fantasy as well, right? So you will see how deep the data is. There are like 25 different filters that are there. So it gives people more control over making their teams. That is not available in cricket. So if you want to look at, let's say, the data in football fantasy and come up with metrics that you can do in cricket, that would be great. So that's the user perspective. A lot of sites have teams that they put up, which other players can purchase and make their own teams, right? So that's one way. From the other perspective, it is, companies like Dream11 run on data. So in fact, Sports Interactive, our industry partner, is one of the data providers for, they work closely with Dream11, and they run at the back of data, because everything once you register on the platform, the nudges that they give, the kind of, the entire, the millions and millions of teams that are made, that is all data. So fantasy runs on data. Shubhro asked what all we will cover in the workshop. So Shubhro, I'll just mail that to you after the session, but it will be much more detailed, a blown out perspective of what you just saw. So the first 3 sessions will be capture, analyze, and present. There will be 3 sessions, sort of 3 aspects there, and then finally a walkthrough in Tableau with Pranav, right? Minimum requirement of basics to become a cricket analyst. This is not a known industry. This is not like medicine or engineering. So there are no minimum requirements. You will have to figure, if you want to go into video analytics, you will have to learn tools of video analytics. There are open source tools that are there. So you can learn that and go to a nearby academy, do some volunteering, and then build your profile. There is no known way. In terms of career questions, as I said, that if you are passionate about sports, you will work on it, you will build your portfolio, build your profile, and you will figure out opportunities. Otherwise, it's not like engineering or medical where you do something and something else will happen. That does not work with cricket. Pankil asks, I'm a second year BTech student. How should I start my journey as a data analyst? Similar answer, but for you, I think just, if you're interested in coding, have a GitHub profile, work on a few projects, hobby projects, look at conferences like MIT Sloan Sports Analytics Conference, look at conferences like XLRI1, where you can, present papers. So just build your portfolio, do some work in it, and when you are ready, you can present it to folks, and they will, in this industry, all that counts is how you have channelized your passion. It's not like you go in with a degree and they will give you an interview. It's all about how you have channelized your passion. So you have to find outlets to do that. I've heard of term sports management. Can you provide some light on that? So it's huge. It's like management, right? So sports management is just the business of sports, everything, right? From media, sponsor, writing, fantasy. The sports, as we know, is the front end, the players who play and the fans who watch. But there is a lot of things that happens at the background to make it possible. So it's just like management with a flavor of sports. What courses do we need to pursue? So as I said, that there are no courses per se. It's not like a known degree, right? So probably workshops and webinars like these. Then build your own portfolio. If you're interested, do something. Just do something. There is no one path to get there. Probably in next 5-10 years, there will be a sports management university with a degree in analytics. But till we reach that point, the only thing that matters is how do you channelize your passion and interest and build your portfolio. Right? Webinar is a bit fast, could not recollect the functions using the case study. Can you share the spreads? Yeah, sure. But Rahul, as I said, we will break it down and share it with you. Masters in data science with this workshop. Okay, so I think you can send me I think you have sent me a private message. You can just send me an email after this. I am at nikhil@theplaymaker.org. So I'll just write down that email ID. Everyone, I think we are way past time. So we will just end it here. For any other queries, you can just write me on nikhil@theplaymaker.org. And I hope to see, at least, if you like this, I hope to see some of you in the workshop. So that's it from my end and Pranav's end. Pranav, in case you had some final closing thoughts, final 30 seconds.
I think, Nikhil, you covered, the webinar pretty comprehensively. Just wanted to add I got a few messages on the private chat asking about Tableau. So I'll touch on that in the workshop, in the course that Nikhil mentioned. But if you have any specific questions, feel free to reach out to, as Nikhil said, either you can reach out to him or you can reach out to me at pranavdar@gmail.com. No spaces, no dots. Pranavdar, PRANAVDAR @gmail.com. I'll just put in the chat. So any Tableau queries, if you have, just feel free to reach out to me there. Otherwise, we'll cover it pretty comprehensively in the course as well.
Right. So thanks everyone, and thank you for being part of this 90-minute journey. And as I said, hope to see you soon in one of the other sessions of the workshop. So thank you and good night.